Hello there, and thanks for spending some time with us here on PM Express. This is our special analysis on the largest political exercise that transpired over the weekend. I'm talking about the NPP's Super Delegates verdict. It's the process for the governing party aimed at selecting ultimately the individual who would represent the NPP in the upcoming 2024 general elections as the presidential candidate. But the party has 2 or now 3 more processes to cross that bridge in selecting the ultimate individual who would now lead the governing New Patriotic Party and to succeed President Akufo-Addo. Last weekend's event, very, very charged, and there are implications for the party even ahead of that slated date of November 4, where the party goes in for that ultimate contest of choosing the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. The party has a threshold of streaming down the number to 5 before its main contest. However, that did not go as planned. So 10 in all contesting for the exercise. But it appears that after the exercise, what we have now is a total number of some 6 individuals who we now know will be going into the context. And we'll be bringing that to you shortly and giving you a sense of what's going to happen as far as the contest is concerned. So 6 individuals, now top 6 as we have it. Dr. Mahmoud Bamia coming through there as the lead candidate who had the most votes from the Special Delegates Conference with some 68.15%. Then comes through one individual, Kennedy Ohene-Japon, who is now another main phase and major force going into the elections. But there's one man who has tried, was of course expected to make some showing, and he did, but came through as the third in line, and I'm talking about the former Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kojo-Kyerematen. But that's not all. There's also the former Greek Minister, Dr. Efrie Ekoto, who's also in the race now, moving to that safe spot of 4 individuals who are now cleared to be part of the ultimate race for the flag bearership slot of the New Patriotic Party. But what's the new trend within the NPP is they now have 2 individuals who would now have to slug it out one more time this weekend just to make it through to get that threshold of 5, as the party will call it. So I'm talking about Adainimo, who's been in the race before, is not new, and then one more individual that you need to take a look at, our former Energy Minister, Boakye Ejako. These 2 individuals are the reason for which the NPP would have to carry out this exercise again, because there's a tie. 9 votes each from delegates across the country, representing some 0.98% of the votes. There's a tie here, and the party says the only way of determining and knowing how or who gets to qualify and to be a part of the 5 is to either have a fresh runoff, which will happen this weekend, or we either have Boakye Ejako pulling out of the race, or Honorable Adainimo doing same. But on that yet, we'll have to wait to see what the decision of these individuals will be. But who missed out? Because when this whole process started, it was about 10 in all. And the party has successfully trimmed down the number to at least 6 now. They have just one more exercise to carry out to know who will then make it to the top 5. But there were 10 in all, and some individuals, unfortunately, could not make it. I'm talking about the gentleman you see in your picture now, one-time General Secretary of the party, just had 6 votes, representing 0.65% of the total votes cast after the Super Delegates Conference. And unfortunately, Kwabena Ejapong would not be making it into that top 5 to have the opportunity of slugging it out among some 200,000 delegates who would have to decide who becomes the next leader of the national, that's the New Patriotic Party. Beyond that gentleman, there's also one face that you're very familiar with, was in the race in the last 2014 exercise, but unfortunately for Joe Gatti, just 4 votes cannot sail through into the top 5. So he's losing out of the race with 0.43%. And then there is also one individual that you need to learn of, Kojo Poku, who says, well, he's okay with the results, even if, he doesn't make it to the top 5, because this is actually his first showing, and he has done what many wouldn't have thought of him. So Kujopoku, just 3 votes. Unfortunately for him, he is buying out of the race and will no longer be, a subject matter when it comes to the race for that seat, top spot of the New Patriotic Party. But there's a bigger casualty because for him, many had the opinion that, well, he's been there before. Why is it the case that the NPP is not giving opportunity to this gentleman I'm talking about? And that's the former, also one-time trade minister. I'm talking about Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apraku, who returned from the ECOWAS Commission position just to run for the presidency again. And he's been doing that for a very long time. It's surprising that none of the delegates who voted this weekend believe that he even stands any chance at all of becoming the presidential candidate for the NPP. Unfortunately for him, he's not a delegate himself, I believe. So no one believes in him. And that's why, unfortunately, he's not making it. This is not the first time the NPP has been in this case of having a tie, because, mind you, in 2014, this was the gentleman who was talk of the town. I'm talking about President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo having a significant vote of endorsement from the delegates and also from the larger grassroots of the party. In fact, his votes actually went up somewhere to 94.35% when the Electoral College was further expanded for that exercise. Now the race, and we'll tell you why Alan's votes, what you see here, appears to be a significant jump for him in this exercise that we're seeing and what the implications will be going forward. But for him, he came second, also made it through into that race, but obviously he was no match for President Akufo-Addo at the time in 2014 when he last ran against the president. There's also the face we're talking about, Adainimo, who will now be running a second time because of the tie with the former Energy Minister Boakye Jaku, who's been in the race before, experienced and knows, of course, the way out. But as to whether that will mean anything for the upcoming race, we'll have to wait and see. There's Joe Gatti, unfortunately for him, 3.68%, slightly better performance in the last elections. This time round, he didn't make it through and is not part of the top 5. Same for Sayameo and Stephen Asamoah-Bartington, who all missed it out in the last election. And Kofi Konadu-Apraku, one more time, as I was indicating, has always been in the race. I don't know, better luck for him next time if he indeed would want to run again. But let's talk about the victor for tonight, and that's Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. There's talk in town that his performance is not encouraging. So what exactly is the case when we talk about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? You need to know a bit more about him before we come to Alan Kojo-Kyerematen, who is in a tight race with the vice president. Now, this is the performance of the president when he was running in 2014. The argument is that the president, with this 80%, outperforms Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who's for the very first time coming into the race with some 68.17%. Now, here's what you need to do. That this man has tried more than once, and you have the vice president for the very first time contesting any election at all on his own accord as a candidate in the election. So 68.17% for a start, as some would argue, would not be too bad for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is coming in 2023, but then was supporting the president then in 2014 when he ran. So that's the argument as to whether or not this means anything for the upcoming race is something we need to watch closely. But there's also Alan Kojo-Kyerematen, who's been there neck and neck. And of course, this man enjoyed a lot of goodwill when he first came on the scene in 2007. Just take a look at this. 32.030% was what he first garnered when he went into the race, because he was tipped to be a forerunner in that election back in 2007 when, of course, he was contesting President Akufo-Addo. Ever since then, when he lost first time to President Akufo-Addo, his polls have consistently declined. As you see here in 2010, same in 2014 when the Super Delegates conference took place. And then a similar trend repeated itself in 2014 again when the Electoral College was expanded. Surprisingly now, in 2023, when President Akufo-Addo is no longer, as we know it, in the picture, Alan Kojo-Kyerematen's votes appear to be ascending. And that is where some of its supporters say he may have some chance at least going into the next elections. We'll look at the implications and see what that means actually for him. But the exercise over the weekend has been a very charged one, mainly making comments all over the place. And some of these conducts the party describes as not being in the interest of the New Patriotic Party. So already the Elections Committee is taking steps to deal with some individuals. First one you see here, Raphael Patrick Safo, who the party believes is engaged in some anti-party conduct. There's also the individual you see here, Charles Yao Ado, and also name number 3, Musa Sulemana, who are all in hot waters now because the party says these individuals are engaged in anti-party conduct. But they would have to prove themselves tomorrow as there's a crunch meeting, not just for the presidential aspirants, which we will talk about shortly, but also for this individual, Hobson Adoye, who's been making some claims about the chief of staff and other leading figures of the New Patriotic Party. He would have to answer for that. And Kennedy Ejapon. He's a presidential aspirant that is not happy about how the activities run over the weekend. He believes that some of his own agents were chased, attacked, allegedly, and there's been press conferences today just to explain that further. So at the meeting tomorrow, we are expecting that eventually all of these issues will be cleared out for the New Patriotic Party. But don't forget that the Elections Committee has laid out its rule and is repeating that consistently for many of its party aspirants, faithfuls, and those who support the presidential candidates to beware. And that's why this gentleman, the Deputy Majority Leader, Penyo Makin, had to address a press conference today, pointing out the rules once more, indicating, first of all, that aspirants are expected to channel their grievances through the laid-down rules and regulations, because it was made clear to all of the candidates when they started out that if you have any concerns, channel them through the very laid-down processes. There's also the point that any party member, aspirant or agent who wages war or is on a war path with a party, as we've seen some candidates do, that could also attract some sanctions, and there'll be recommendations to that effect. There's the election rules that were agreed upon for all of the parties involved. Also one that has got to do with the fact that the committee has not received any formal complaints indicating that anyone has been engaged in an anti-party conduct. But the Elections Committee says it has the remit, it has the power to equally summon and invite individuals that it believes are carrying out activities that may mar the beauty of the internal exercise for the New Patriotic Party. And in line with party unity, it's the reason for which the party tomorrow will definitely be inviting some individuals and personalities based upon viral videos that have gone out on social media already. But in all of this, the bigger question is what we're trying to answer tonight. Just take a look at this. This is the gentleman who's been smiling all throughout the weekend, talking about the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, after, of course, making it through over 60% of the 961 delegates votes that were cast. But there's a bigger task ahead for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He has to convince over 200,000 more persons when the Electoral College is expanded for the grassroots of the party to decide who then becomes the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party to contest the 2024 elections. And that's why we're asking the question, who will that be? This is PM Express, and it's time to have that conversation now, be a part of our show. I'm Blessed Sugan. Welcome to the show.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank, and you're strong. tough.
There are days when you think, whoa, today I've earned it. So order a Global. Days when plans run longer. What if we order a Global? Or days when you can't control everything. Oh yes, because on Global, you can order anything you want. Global, you order, we deliver.
Crazy pa. Don't say no to me.
Whiskey.
Wash. All of a sudden, my voice I hear different. And when you saw a call. Barman, bring me the honey whiskey. You know the one? Black Rock Whiskey.
Honey whiskey.
Chalet, honey near their fro. Black Rock Whiskey is strong. Now to taste me is smooth and it goes down easy. Excuse me. Barman, bring my friend one Black Rock Whiskey.
Black Rock Whiskey, blended with natural honey flavor.
Hey, what's up?
Barman.
Hey, what the hell for Sikanton Sata? The pure Bintoma, no.
Black Rock Whiskey. Tabby, the feel is smooth, no.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 years of age and not recommended for pregnant women. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello, my name is Abeku Agri Santana. If there's anything that makes my life so easy, it is my bank. I love hanging out with my boys at our usual fufu joint. But even without cash, we still dey chop better with EcoBank Mobile. No matter the time of day, my bank helps me stay in touch with my beautiful wife whenever she's away. And when my beautiful wife is in town, she never misses out on her favorite TV shows because I'm able to pay up all my TV subscriptions from the comfort of my mobile phone. Whenever she has to get groceries too, my bank makes it cashless and convenient. And the part my wife loves the most is when my bank makes it possible and easy for her to shop from any part of the world without moving.
Welcome to the smart world of EcoBank. Download EcoBank Mobile from Google Play Store or the App Store and discover the smart way to bank. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
My name is Tina. I am a person living with HIV. I got to know my HIV status after I gave birth and lost the child because of HIV. In those days, prevention of mother-to-child transmission services had low patronage due to fear and stigmatization. Today, many HIV-positive women have delivered negative children. I follow the guidelines and take my HIV medicine called ARVs every day, as prescribed by my doctor. This makes me strong and healthy, and also prevent me from passing HIV onto any future child. Please, avail yourself for PMTCT services when pregnant. It is the only way to ensure you do not pass the HIV onto your baby during birth or pregnancy. If you have tested for HIV recently and it was negative, test again when pregnant. If you have tested positive, go to the hospital after birth as directed by your healthcare provider. Your baby will be given medicine immediately and tested to ensure baby and mother are well. Let us work together to have an HIV-free generation.
Our children must be free to shine.
And you're welcome back to PM Express. Thanks for spending some time with us here on the show. But I need to point out that PM Express is brought to us by Territory Properties, that's Syntex Tanks, and also Alumo BTS. We also have the Ghana AIDS Commission supporting the program. But no matter your water needs, Syntex Tank has it all. The tank is the first to actually introduce the double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. The Syntex tank is the first to introduce the white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and we now introduce to you the customer specs order, which now allows you to order any color and size of the preference that you want. You can also go in for the Syntex tank, which gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you here in Ghana. So whatever your water needs, consumption, size, or the project that you're embarking on, you need to choose Syntex tank, and they have agents nationwide. You can call Syntex tank on 0244 335 and you can also do the shopping online. It's syntexgh.com, and you have your 7-year warranty. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. That's what they are sharing with you. But you also need to know about Territory homes, because desires, as we know, are wishes. Beauty is a promise of happiness, but passion is everything. If you're thinking about buying a new home, then you need to talk to those who build it with a lot of passion. And with the Sloan Square, a new gated community developed at Sakumono, and it's also being developed by the Territory Properties company. It's a one-of-a-kind, well-planned luxury area that you've never experienced. So you can just contact them on 0553 662 366, and you'd be talking to Territory Properties. They are telling you that sophistication and class is what is guaranteed for you if you come on board. So we're back to the issue about the analysis on the Special Delegates Conference of the New Patriotic Party, and I need to tell you about my guest helping us to do the discussion. Nana Akomia is the Director of Campaign Communications for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign. Anna, good evening and welcome. Dr. Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana, joining us via Zoom. Thank you, Doc, for spending some time with us. And lawyer Yao Bawumiasamwa, the spokesperson for the Alan Kojo-Shermatin campaign. Good evening to you, Council.
Good evening.
And welcome to PM Express. I think it's fair to start off with you because you've been in the news as well. So I need to confirm from you, have you been invited by the party, knowing that some individuals have been called by the election committee just to answer a few questions tomorrow? Are you aware of that?
Very interesting. Have I been invited by the party? Well, let me say a very good, hearty evening to your viewers, and a couple of Mr. Chermatin's name is without a G. So if that
we'll get that done. I'm not sure that's on the screen yet right now. So
I don't know where you picked up the assumption that I would have to be called for what reason, because I don't see a reason why I need to be called before any committee. Yes, so I am not aware of any such thing.
But how about the meeting with the presidential aspirants? Do you know if your candidate will be part of the exercise tomorrow?
Again, I'm not aware that an invitation has been extended. Perhaps the invitation went through the election management unit within the Chairman campaign. So as at now, it's been quite a busy day for me running around. I haven't gone through campaign office. So maybe there's something happening that I'll get to find out tomorrow.
Well, I'm asking the question because the election committee actually held a press conference earlier today, and Nanakomi, I'm sure that you've also monitored that day. The committee indicating that it wants to meet all of the aspirants, those who are contesting the exercise. I mean, I'm sure that would include those who fell off when the exercise occurred over the weekend. But are you in a position to confirm or deny if your candidate will be at the meeting tomorrow?
Oh, let me also wish our audience a hearty good evening to follow the example of my good brother here, Yao. And wish him also, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Oh, really? You guys have been busy campaigning.
Well. And so it's good seeing him after such a long time. Yes, Dr. Baumia will be too happy to assist the party in any way that he can in reviewing the last elections and also in projecting to the next elections in December. So certainly he's available.
I see. So let's get to it then, because the weekend was really packed. Lots of surprises. The figures are, something interesting that we need to analyze. So we start off with the outcome, actually. Those who have made it, we know that there are 6 of them as of now, given the fact that 2 individuals, we have a tie, so they would have to go into the exercise once more this weekend if we don't have one of them pulling out before Saturday. But Lawyer Bobby Ngesomo, let me start off with you, looking at the names we have so far and the order in which they came. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia coming on top, with over 60% of the votes. Then we have Kennedy Ejapon, and then your candidate places third in that role. And now we have, the 4th position going into the former Greek Minister, Dr. Freya Koto. We'll talk about the rest too after the exercise is settled. But in your own estimation, how do you find the performance of your candidate?
That he was supposed to be part of the 5, and that's it. We've achieved that. We didn't go into this context on the basis of placement, percentages, or number of delegates that we're going to displace. As far as we are concerned, this is not indeed, frankly, we believe it shouldn't even have happened at all. Because for every event that you establish a rule about, there is certain mischief you seek to cure. The mischief that the Superdelegates Conference sought to cure was a question of too many people breaking up the party with diverse messaging and all manner of things that tended to attack the very fabric of the party. And therefore, the assumption was that if we brought it down to 5, unfortunately, I think at the time we set that rule for ourselves, we should have allowed a small window of opportunity that would have said that given the circumstance, the National Council could waive it or not. So if you have a field of 10 who have gone through 8 months, literally, of campaigning, and nothing has damaged the psyche of the party, the temperature has been normal, then really what's the point in going to an exercise which rather threatens to create situations that are unmanageable? Look at now having to manage disciplinary issues and all that. It has created unnecessary rancor when it shouldn't have happened at all. So for us, it really was a passing matter. We've always seen it and regarded it as an administrative process. It is meant to prune down the number of people by an elite group who don't really represent the party in its entirety.
Really?
Yes, yeah, they are leaders of the party, but of course they don't represent the political opinion in the party. 0.004% of 200,000, 961 persons representing 200,000. What do you call it? Grassroots delegates. We don't believe that they are representative of the mood and opinion down there.
But if you make that argument, you'll be pointed back to history to see what the trend has been in the past. That when you have a candidate, taking the support of the special delegates conference, then they go ahead to emerge victorious in
because history is circumstantial. History is not repetitive. History is subjective to the era. So it informs the present and the future based on best practices. So the history of Nana Addo and Alan Kyerematen is a contest of two very strong personalities fighting for the favor of this party. And this party determining that Mr. Kyerematen must wait his turn for Nana Addo to have a crack at the presidency. And therefore, for every consequential election, the party kept consolidating behind Nana Addo. I mean, in 2014, there was a lot of pressure on Mr. Kyerematen not to run at all, just to allow Nana Addo to go ahead. So some even say that he didn't respond and decided to run meant that then the party was determined to tell him that he shouldn't have because they wanted Nana Addo to have a crack at it. So that line is not because Kyerematen declined in popularity. It was because the party was determined to consolidate support behind Nana Addo unequivocally so that the party could take Nana into the presidency, which we succeeded in doing.
Are you saying that you went into the elections over the weekend to come third or to place third?
We didn't go in to look for a placement. We didn't go in to look for a placement. We didn't care where we were as long as we were in the five. That as far as we are concerned, I'm on record to have said well before we went that it wasn't a useful exercise for us. I'm on record to have said that even if we had one vote, we wouldn't really bother. I'm on record to have said that the important thing was that we were part of the five, and happily, we are part of the five.
Nana, let me take your thoughts on the figures. The fact is, your constitution and the constitution of the NPP establishes this threshold that you must trim the number down to 5. For lawyer Bobby and someone, this is not even about the numbers. The fact that you have been passed, you have a wider, constituency to decide, over 200,000 people. So that's where the real contest is. You agree?
Well, that is my brother's opinion. That is not my opinion. Any grading system has a purpose. Otherwise, there'll be no need to have a grading system. So the pass mark is 40. But some will get 90. And some will get 45. But in the grading, you will not say that 45 and 90 are inconsequential because they are all pass. I wouldn't say so. Now, these SIEF, these first stage elections, they are meant to prune down the numbers up to 5. There was a time that we had 17, and we thought that it didn't do the image of the party much good. So there was the need for a mechanism to prune it to 5. So that principle is a principle that is generally accepted. That principle would not be negated because there were some difficulties with campaigning style and so on. In any election, you would have an issue with the way people's utterances in the campaign, but it doesn't negate the principle of the election. So that principle that we must prune the numbers down to 5 is a principle that is solid and is a well thought through decision by the party. We may be able to tinker with some of the provisions, as we go along. For example, there's supposed to be a runoff. Maybe after this, we may have to tinker with the rules and for example, introduce or replace that clause with a clause that would say that in the case of a runoff, we'll probably let the runoff be restricted to the National Council. There are about 90 or 100 of them.
Okay, so they could decide that.
So they could decide instead of having to run all the runoff elections in all the 17 centers again. I mean, I would be happy with that kind of amendment to make it smoother. But the principle of pruning it down to 5 is excellent. Today there are 10. Next time it could be 20. So that principle is there, and we should maintain it. Just modify it as we go along. Now, this business about these special delegates, just elite people, I also don't agree. I believe that any election at every stage is a representation. Now, these 900 odd people who constitute the special delegates, many of them, they're actually leaders of the party across levels. So you have constituency leaders, you have leaders at the regional level, you have leaders at the national level, you have leaders at the constituency, they are the chairman and the members of parliament. Now, these are people who have emerged from the party to represent the party. The constituency chairman is a person who's gone through election by the grassroots. A member of parliament for a constituency has also gone through the same process and emerged an elected member of parliament for the constituency. So these are people who've emerged from the grassroots. They are not some isolated bunch of people who've been brought from somewhere to come and do this exercise. They've emerged from the grassroots. And if you look at the numbers, nearly out of the 960, nearly 800 of them are directly elected people from constituency level, from regional level, from national level, the international level, the diaspora level, all of them, those people who came to represent, they've all been elected to represent the diaspora and all the various groups, the NUCs, all of them. So they are not some elite group who are cut off from the real party.
But it's not entirely false to say that, looking at the fact that
I have said to you that every election is a representation. Okay? We have 270, how many members of 275 members of parliament who we have elected. They make decisions for how many people? Now, even the delegates, the main delegates election that should happen in November, how many are they? Maybe 220,000. Do you know the people who vote for the party? In excess of 6 million. So if you look at that in that scale, then even those 220,000 people, it's just a small subset, a minute part of the 6 million people who are supporters of the party.
Dr. Sasanti, you'd have to stay on for a while for us. Let me just get Council's thoughts on that. I mean, you just heard from Nana Kumia pointing out the fact that these are people who have been elected by the base of the party. So you can't, just throughout the significance of, the constituencies they hold within the party.
Needs to deeply reflect on its path forward, particularly in the light of this election and the comments that my senior colleague, my former director of communications, is making. Yes, he used to be twice for 2 elections. I was one of his deputies for 2 elections, 2012 and 2016. And
he goes astray a little bit.
The question really is how the choice making is secured or otherwise. Because if you say these people have emerged, and then over a period, we feel compelled as a political party to create conditions per the rules that will protect these people in order for them to be able to express themselves, then there's a problem. And what I'm saying is that the preoccupation of the elections committee, the presidential elections committee, and the aspirants sitting together with the organizing group was that there was a strong and real perception of intimidation, inducement, fear. So the focus of the guidelines...
And who's creating this atmosphere?
The focus of the... Yes, but it is clear that over 16 years, the party is virtually emasculated. Control has moved from the party to the government. It's very clear. I mean, this is not the Darocha and the Alajete era, where the party was firmly in the grip of the leadership of the party. Maybe perhaps because that time we're not yet in government. But it would appear that now we are in government, and now that one particular group have been in charge for 4 elections, 2 in opposition, 2 in government, the power center has genuinely shifted. This party is not in control of itself at this time. And in particular, that group, the 961 who have been elected and emerged, have gone about their business on the basis that they were engaging the incumbent government.
But you still had 95 of them voting for you.
Yes,
and voting
and that's
for
what I
candidate.
said, that it was important.
They were not intimidated?
But look at the numbers. Those who felt that people were talking about 90% and otherwise, to have even dropped below those numbers shows that somehow...
132 for someone who's not even served in government, Kennedy Ejapong.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Overall, on the whole, control in this party has shifted to the government.
Where's the control? That's why I'm asking based on the numbers that we're seeing.
Yeah, the numbers are the indicative numbers. Alan, 95.
Yes.
And 36.
These are still delegates.
Yes, they're all delegates.
Yeah, they may be regional ministers, so you never know, because we don't have the...
We can't tell. We can't tell. But when you have a situation where in a region, people are showing their votes to demonstrate that they are towing a line, you understand? It's worrisome. It's worrisome. When you are going into an election and your focus is to create rules, protocols that will prevent or create an environment of freedom, then you know that there's a problem. So that we can't wish away that situation. But that's neither here nor there. The important thing is that the party needs modernization. The party needs to take back control. And I think that going forward, it is one of the things that must preoccupy this party.
Okay, I'll come to Nana Kumia shortly, but Dr. Sasanti, thanks for staying on with us. You've heard the argument from both camps, but I mean, scientifically speaking, it doesn't suggest that they are not speaking the science, though. But you're in academia, looking at the figures that we see on the screens now. Is that anything to go by to say that, well, come November 4, this dynamics may change or remain the same as we see it?
Well, obviously, if you look at the composition that has been proposed, that is over 220,000, you are going to have a different results that I can assure you. What we have seen is, okay for the first step, but you can't rest on it and conclude that the status quo will remain. You'll be surprised because you are looking at they are expanding the electoral body, bringing in all manner of people who will change the dynamics. So I believe that we are not going to have the same situation. Yeah, that is the fact.
Yeah, but when you say it will change, to what extent? Are you, suggesting that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia may no longer be, in at the number 1 spot, or you are suggesting that maybe some other candidates will have their numbers increase? Exactly, how do you see that playing out?
Anything can happen. Yeah, anything can happen. The 5, each one of them is capable of winning. And it depends on a number of factors. How well you coordinate your activities, how well you churn out your messages and try to make sure that it resonates with the people, how well you are in terms of your ability to articulate clearly your policies and programs and the rest of them. It's a whole mix of factors that are likely to come to play. So yes, the fact that somebody emerge tops or even last is inconsequential here. The important thing is that you needed 5 people. 5 people, at the moment we have 4. 4 are in, ready. And then it depends upon how well you put up your performance. Remember, we've seen this thing in soccer, where people qualify early stages to quarterfinals and all that. But eventually, when we get to the finals, we see surprises. And it's not different from what we are going to witness November 4.
And looking at the caliber of individuals who did the voting over the weekend, these are persons that hold constituencies within the NPP. Don't you feel that psychologically, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is now becoming an establishment candidate, if we can call him as such?
Oh, that has been the issue. People have alleged that he's the establishment candidate and all that. But if you want to stretch that argument, we are talking about the issue of incumbency advantage. For me, that is how I understand it. And that robs off him. And it's not with him alone, with every human being who has occupied a position as a vice president or an incumbent. There are things that you benefit from the political system. So a contest of this nature, you are likely to have a lead in terms of what your strides and all that. But that has also not been the case that once you are incumbent, you are likely to win election. We saw Aliyu Mahama, who was also in the same position, but could not cross the Rubicon. So as I've said, there's a whole lot of things. You need resources, you need strategy, you need message, a whole lot. And looking at the composition of the electoral body now, you have to expect great changes. Yes, somebody can.
Yeah, but
you realize that the magnitude of votes may even dwindle. Who knows? Yeah.
The unique thing we see now is that the likes of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and, for instance, Kennedy Ejapon, these are all new faces. They've never been on the ballot, and yet the delegates within the party believe that they should take the lead.
Yeah, there has always been new faces in the realm of politics. Yeah, who knew, Nana Akufo-Addo before he came in? He came in and made his way. Some people come the first time, they win. Some also come, they have to struggle, and then they go through. So it doesn't really matter. What really matters is what Nkrumah put is what organization decides everything. How you organize yourself, all right? That is really the crux of the matter.
Okay, Nana Kumia, this suggests that there's a tougher time, if I could describe it that way, for your candidate who's taking the early lead now. He may be in the lead, but Dr. Asante believes that the dynamics will change by November 4.
Oh, why? The dynamics may change. But the dynamics will change in better favor of Bawumia. Because when you look at the scale of his victory, the margins are so wide that it's virtually impossible for the other colleagues to cross that margin. These are not close margins. They are not subject to. I mean, how much will it take to cross that margin? Just take a brief moment and look at the scale of the victory. There are 10 of them, 10 gentlemen. If you added the votes of the 9 others, 9
PMS first, Joy.
They do not amount to half of what Bawumia got. Then there are 10 of them. 10. If you added the votes of the 9, the total votes is less than half of what Bawumia got. That is what you have. If Bawumia had gotten 45% and the second person had gotten 33%, the third person had gotten 31%, then you could say if all of those groups come together. But if you tallied up their votes, it still doesn't amount to half.
How
that
about
is what
the
you have.
atmosphere
Now, one second.
that council is talking about?
I'll deal with that.
The fact that
one second.
the atmosphere created.
I'll deal with that. Now, look at the precedents that we had in 2014. Akufo-Addo in the super delegates. The results of the super delegates reflected in the results of the delegates.
Precisely.
That is the precedent that we have. And indeed, in the delegates, the results were even more magnified for the winning candidates. You are aware of it?
So it went up, yes.
It went up. The winning candidate, first the positions were the same, Akufo-Addo 1, Alan 2, and so on, in the super delegates. And then the main delegates is the same, Akufo-Addo, Alan, and so on. But even then, when Akufo-Addo had 80% plus in the super delegates, and Alan had 8%, in the main delegates, Akufo-Addo moved from 80 to 94. And Alan dropped from 8 to 4.75, let's be generous. So, to scoff at the idea that this is a totally separate election and the slates have been wiped clean and we're going to have a totally different second election, what's the base? What's the basis of it? Now, my brother here talked about the conditions.
Yes, the atmosphere.
The atmosphere. He said what, people were intimidated? Is that what he's saying?
He would answer.
Now, I was intimidated, but he wasn't intimidated. Because I support Bawumia. I was intimidated. I was whipped. But he wasn't. Is he different from what I am? How come I allow myself to be whipped? He doesn't allow himself to be whipped. Now, this business about control, I don't understand it. I'm trying to. These elections were by party people, were they not? Chairmen of constituencies, members of parliament, regional executives, people who have themselves been elected by the party. And you say the party needs to take control. Control from who? Who's the party taking control from?
Is the situation not different when you're in government, for instance? You have a sitting vice president contesting for the presidential slot, as against others who have just served as ministers of state. You agree that some element of incumbency advantage would play here?
Where does it play?
But this is the vice president we're talking about.
Yes, we've had a vice president contest elections before. How come all of this did not play in his favor? And indeed, incidental. My brother here was the campaign manager for that vice president. Okay? So how come all of this, all of a sudden, incumbency advantage and control and all of that didn't play in that vice president's favor? Let's be realistic. What we're talking about is that Dr. Bawumia has a national appeal. The man won in each region. You take a place like the Ashanti region, where 7 of
a toast to our new college grad who fills us with so much joy, almost as much as when we're in our RV. Oh, the world is your oyster, kiddo, and ours too. Now that we're covered with Progressive, Dad and I can hop in our RV anytime we want. Might even splurge on a retractable awning. Ooh, look out. Sorry, what was I talking about?
Protect your loved one with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The stalwarts come from Ashanti region. So you would expect that there was going to be, the votes were going to be a bit more split up. In that region, Dr. Bawumia got 80% plus. That shows you that what we're talking about is a person with a national appeal in the party. And you cannot scoff at it by saying that people have been intimidated, by saying that people have lost control. I don't understand
There's even a statement from Alan Chermantin himself indicating that in the coming days you'll be speaking to the nation, I believe, Council?
Let me, before I get there, and this business about numbers, The Bawumia campaign telegraphed way ahead that they were going to make 90%. This percentages business has been in preparation for a long time. So taking them at their own word, they've actually failed. And just before, on the Monday before the vote, in a choreographed process, there was a so-called poll released.
But they've swept all the regions.
There was a so-called poll released, which was going to give them 72 or 76%. After they
not 90,
because they had begun revising. They had been revising their estimates as we went along. So this numbers game really, they've lost out. They've lost out because this is a pool that they felt they were in control of. They've lost out. Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
just not to interrupt you. Last week I had the opportunity. No, Director, you've had the opportunity. You asked me a direct question, and I said to you that we will get 70%.
Mr. Chairman,
remember?
So Nana's clearly on that. Okay, yes. Has issued a statement. Okay, and in that statement, he's thanked everybody involved, including the committee which set up the organization, the delegates, especially the voted for him, and then he's also had taken exception to what happened in the Northeast, where the agent was deliberately assaulted in order to ensure that he didn't have any numbers. It was deliberate. And that means that partly that's what reflected in some of the regions where they want to demonstrate that they are in charge. Ultimately, he's going to make a statement this week.
All right. I'm grateful. And because of time, Dr. Asah-Asante, let me give just a minute to you so we can wrap up.
Looking at what transpired, there's no doubt that Dr. Bawumia pulled his weight in there. But the dynamics are going to change. That is a fact. Now, people are going to look at more of the issues that deal with what the youth in the party. That was not tested in the first. We are going to get people who are not necessarily in top brass position, who think and act differently from the top brass and all that. And these are things that are going to change the dynamic. Time is not on our side. I would have thrown in more light.
I'm sure this conversation will continue again. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. I'm blessed to, of course, grateful to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, to Nana Atumi, and also to lawyer Boabeng Asama for joining us. We're taking a break here, but that's it for PM Express. We'll see you.